Hello. Hello.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Okay, hello.
Good afternoon.
po.
Okay. So we'll be starting the lecture anytime soon. Hello. Okay, not microphone. Okay
po,
na?
ma'am.
Yes,
Opo, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So we will start at once. I might give a summative test right after the discussion. So please listen carefully and take notes as we discuss. Take down notes as we discuss. Actually, I have already checked the attendance while I was accepting participants. I was checking my I was checking your attendance actually. So I might not as well say it orally kasi check na siya. Anyway, be ready with your pen and paper for the lecture. And again, please take down notes as we discuss. Okay. Okay. Pwede na kita mag-start? Pwede na mag-start?
Yes.
Okay ba iton internet? Kay danay unstable iton akon unstable iton akon internet didi. Okay iton sound, picture ngadto iyo okay la.
Okay la.
Okay, what
Yes,
about the
ma'am.
sound? What about the sound? Okay,
Okay
la.
Okay la. Okay la.
So good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. So this will be our last lecture for the second quarter. Actually, this is now the last module in quarter 2. So we will be talking this time mutation. Mutation is actually a continuation of what we were discussing before on the genetic material. Okay, so if I remember it right, our last discussion was on protein synthesis, wherein the DNA, where genetic information is stored, it is actually the DNA that makes the protein. Now, the mRNA copies specifically the messenger RNA actually copies the message in the DNA, and it is what's this? Translated into a specific protein in the cytoplasm with the help of the transfer RNA and the ribosomes as well. Okay, so sige, accept ito na enter anyway. Okay, so our discussion today will be guided by these objectives. Okay, so we have it here. Ano yun? So first objective is to define mutation. The second one is to list down the causes of mutation. The third is to identify and describe the different types of mutations. And lastly, classify and explain the effects of mutations as to beneficial or harmful. Okay, so we'll tackle all of this during the discussion. Again, please don't forget to take down notes. Okay, so before we go to the lesson proper, we'll first have a short review of the previous topic. Okay, so on the first activity in your module, you are to transcribe and translate the DNA sequence or the given DNA sequence. So number one is given as an example. Okay, so in this activity, you will get the messenger RNA from the given DNA sequence and then give its anticodon and the amino acid from the given DNA. Okay, from the given DNA sequence. So let's take number 2. The given DNA here is TAC, CGC, TCC, GCC, GTC, GAC, AAT, ACC, and ACT. Okay, now what will be the mRNA for this? Anybody can answer.
AUG.
AUG. AUG.
AUG, very good. Next.
GCG.
GCG.
Okay, GCG. Next.
AGG.
AGG. Next.
CGG.
CGG. Next. CAG, very good. Next.
CTG.
AUG, very good. Next. Next.
UUA.
UUA, very good. Next.
UGG.
UGG, very good. And the last one?
UGA.
UGA. Okay, so what will be the anticodon of the given DNA sequence? So what will be its anticodon?
UAC.
UAC.
Again?
UAC.
UAC. Are you taking down? Are you writing down the mRNA codons? So this will become, sige, saratan ko na lang ha. So this will become AUG. AUG, next is GCG, next is AGG, next is CGG. Okay, lalag pa yan. Are you still there, class?
Yes.
Yes.
We have CAG. Next is CUG. Next is UUA. Next is UGG. And the last one is UG. Good. So go to. So for the tRNA, what will be the anticodon for this?
UAC.
What will be
UAC.
UAC.
good? UAC.
CGC.
CGC.
UAC. Next is
CGC.
CGC.
Next is
UCC.
UCC. Next is
GCC.
GCC. Next is
GUC.
AUC. Very good. Next is
GAC.
AAC. Next is
AAU.
very good. AAU. Next
ACC.
ACC. And the last one is
ACU.
ACC. And the last one is
ACU.
ACU. This time, you are to provide the amino acid on the given DNA sequence. So using the DNA code chart below, or if you have available DNA chart, genetic chart with you, you can use it to provide the amino acid. So what will be the amino acid for the first codon?
Methionine.
What will be the amino acid here?
Methionine.
Methionine, very good. Next. Next is
Arginine.
another answer.
Arginine.
Alanine.
Alanine, very good. Is next is
Arginine.
arginine. Next is
Alanine.
wait lang. Next is
Alanine.
1, 2, 3, 4. What is your answer?
R.
The answer is is it alanine?
It's arginine.
Very
Arginine.
good. Arginine. Next.
Valine.
Guanine.
Glutamine.
Anin? Okay.
Glutamine.
I don't know what it is.
Next is
Leucine.
Liu.
is next is
ASN. ASN.
next is
Leucine.
leucine. Very good. Next is
Tryptophan.
tryptophan. Next is the last one is
Stop.
okay. Very good. Stop. Now, let me ask you, what was your basis in getting the amino acid?
mRNA.
Good. It is the mRNA. It is the mRNA. The reason for that is because ano pa daw? Kay anong yung basis mRNA? To get the amino acid. Kaya ano nga yung basis mRNA? Because it is the mRNA that what is the role of the mRNA in protein synthesis?
To
Copy the DNA.
copy the message. To
Okay,
copy.
very good. It is the mRNA that copies the message in the DNA. So whatever is the message in the DNA, that will be the amino acid that will be made. Okay? Di man pwede gumawa itong DNA to make the amino acid. So what the cell will do is it lets or it allows the mRNA to copy the message so that this message will be translated into proteins. So again and again, it is not the tRNA that will be your basis for the amino acid, but the mRNA, the messenger RNA. Okay, so I'll give you 2 minutes in your paper. I'll give you 2 minutes to answer number 3. Answer number 3. Okay, can you do it? Time starts now. Okay, time starts now.
Excuse me, ma'am. Din po namin
Yes.
ipapas.
Dere, isurat la. I might ask somebody to recite and I'll just be the one to write it on the monitor. Okay.
Okay po.
Just
Sige
write
po.
it on the paper, on your paper.
Okay po. Sige, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Are you done? Are you done, class?
No.
Not yet po.
Yes.
Okay, so while others are still writing, who will volunteer to give me the answers of the mRNA? Anybody?
Ako po, ma'am.
Okay, just identify yourself.
Chad.
Grace, love.
Okay, Ted. mRNA.
EUG, GUG, GGG, GCA, UAC, CGA, CCC.
AGA. Wait lang. A.
Time ko.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On ATG.
UAC.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3. So GCA.
Ita CCC. Tutulungan di.
Okay. AUG, and then
AUG.
AC is GUG.
GUG. Opo, ma'am. Tapos GGG,
GCA, next
GCA,
is
UAC,
UAC, and then
CGA,
and then
CCC,
and then
UUA,
and then
UAG.
Okay, any volunteer from Section Santol? Thank you, Ted. Any volunteer from Section Santol? Volunteer, please.
Ako po, ma'am.
Identify, please.
Grace Love Sabido po.
Okay, Grace Love. Give us the tRNA or the anticodons. What is the anticodon for AUG?
UAC.
EC, next.
CAC.
CAC, next.
CCC.
CCC, next.
CGU.
CGU, next.
AUG.
AUG, next.
GCU.
U, next.
GGG.
GGG, next.
AAU.
And finally,
AUC.
very good. Now, before we go to amino acid, please check muna the mRNA. Are all the codons correct? Yes? Are all the codons in the mRNA correct? Check your answers.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
what about the anticodons? What about the anticodons? Are they all correct? Okay, now any volunteer to give us the amino acid? Any volunteer? Any volunteer from the class? Who will volunteer?
Me po.
Identify, please.
Jolola.
Jalala, very good. From section? Mango? Okay, so the first amino acid is?
Tyrosine.
Another answer. First amino acid is? Okay, met. Very good. Met is actually a starter codon, di ba? It is a start codon.
Opo.
Next is? Valine. Next?
Glycine.
Wait lang. G is glycine. Next?
Alanine.
Alanine. Next? Tyrosine. Next? Arginine. Next?
Proline.
Proline. Next.
Leucine.
A is leucine. And finally, okay. So the ribosome was able to make a, what do you call again, to a short segment of a protein. It starts with letter P.
Polypeptide.
Polypeptide, very good. Thank you for that, Chad. Okay, so again, the DNA the ribosome actually, where protein synthesis occurs, it was able to make a short segment of a protein, which we call as a polypeptide. Okay, now, the reason why we're doing this is because we will be using this later during the discussion. Parang pag-refresh ko liwat ha iyo on what we discussed before. Okay, so let's take the first, we'll move now to the lesson proper. Let's take now the first objective. The first objective is actually to define mutation. What is mutation? Okay, so in the module, it states that, please read the section, Mango, please read the highlighted statement in the module. 1, 2, 3, start.
Mutation is a change or alteration of DNA sequence that happens during division or due to environmental factors like infectious agents or other agents. In short, message is changed or misspelled.
Okay. So, mutation, to make it short, mutation is actually a change in the DNA molecule. So any change or any alteration in the DNA sequence is mutation. Any change, be it a single nucleotide or a number of nucleotides. So bisan ano nga magkamay-ada change in the DNA molecule will cause mutation. Okay? Now, mutation usually happens, or the change or the alteration or the change of the DNA molecule or the DNA sequence usually happens during DNA replication. Please take note of this. Usually, mutation occurs during DNA replication or during cell division, so during mitosis or meiosis, or it can be due to environmental factors like radiation, chemicals, or other infectious agents, which we collectively call as mutagens. So tawag hini nga mga environmental factors that cause mutation or that cause to change the DNA are mutagens. We collectively call them as mutagens. Again, mutation is a change in a DNA molecule. Okay? Now, okay, so we go to the next objective. Okay, so the next objective of this topic is to list down the causes of mutation. What causes mutation in the first place? So I have just given you an overview of the causes of mutation. Why mutation occurs in the DNA molecule. Okay, so mutations happen for several reasons. One is DNA fails to copy accurately. Okay, so DNA fails to copy accurately. Most of the mutations that we think matter to evolution are naturally occurring. Okay, now, DNA fails to copy accurately. Copying the DNA is a process we call as replication. If you still remember, during our discussion of replication, so we cited last time that replication is not 100% accurate. Class, are you still there?
Yes.
Are you still with
Yes.
me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So in our discussion of replication, of DNA replication, we found out that DNA or replication of the DNA is not 100% accurate. In a billion replication, one is an error. One is an error. And it is through this error that organisms vary. Kasi if there is a change in the DNA molecule, definitely it will produce another protein. Kung previously, nakakaproduce siya hinbalin, for example, tapos adto nga nakakahimo hinbalin, nagkamay ada mutation. Definitely, valine will not be anymore produced, but another type of amino acid will then be produced. So ang mahinanabo, since there is already an altered DNA or a changed DNA, so what happens is a sequence of amino acid will also be changed. Okay? Now, pag ibanahan sequence ng amino acid, so nagkamay ada na mutation, di ba? So pag ibanahan sequence, it might affect the individual. So an may nanabo, magkakamay ada a slight difference in the individual. So the individual or the organism is not like before. Parang nagkamay ada na liwat niya change. Ay, nagkamay ada na niya change. The individual, the result of the change in the DNA will then affect to the individual. So magkakamay ada na variation. So replication is actually, or mutation is actually a natural process. It is a natural process. So we actually mutate 24/7. Our cells mutate 24/7. Now, when these mutations are accumulated, magkatarampo na nga ni ining mga mutations in the organism, later on, this organism will change. And a change in the organism through time is what we call as evolution. Okay? In other words, there is evolution because there is mutation. There is mutation because there is an error in replication. Okay? Okay, so one of the causes of mutation is DNA fails to copy accurately, and this happens during DNA replication. Okay, so the next cause of mutation is external influences can create mutations. External influences, in other words, environmental factors may cause or create mutations. And what are these environmental factors? It can be radiation. So if an individual or if an organism is overly exposed to radiation, it might cause a change in its DNA. Or if the person is overly exposed to X-rays or UV light or ultraviolet radiation, or if the individual is overly exposed to chemicals, his or her DNA might be affected. Okay, so these are some of the examples of environmental factors that may cause the DNA to change. UV radiation, X-rays, cigarette smoke. So a chain smoker may cause, or yes, it may change its DNA sequence for mutation to occur. So another is if a person is exposed to what do you call this one? Peroxide, benzoyl actually, this is it. Benzoyl peroxide, which is a common ingredient in acne products, it may cause her DNA to change. Another is the preservatives in processed meats, in canned goods, in hot dogs. It may cause the DNA to change, even in foods that are that are cooked in direct fire. Ito mga barbecued foods, diba? Iton hera, iton process, iton pag-cook nira, dida iton direct fire. Dida mismo iton kuan direct fire. Now, this may cause the DNA to change. Another is infectious agents. This STD virus, the human papillomavirus, may cause a change in the DNA. Even the Helicobacter pylori, it may cause this is actually a bacterium that lives in the lining of the digestive tract that may cause stomach cancer. Okay, so all of this mentioned are external factors that may cause the DNA to change. Okay, so these environmental factors are collectively called as mutagens. Mutagens. Okay, so they are collectively called as mutagen. X-ray is a mutagen. Cigarette smoke is a mutagen. Food preservatives are mutagens. Okay. Okay, so we go to the next objective, to identify and describe the different types of mutation. Actually, there are two general types of mutation. One is induced mutation. The other one is a spontaneous mutation. Now, when we say induced mutation, this is a mutation that is due to agents in the environment that cause changes in DNA structure. So all of this, radiation, chemicals, and infectious agents may cause induced mutation. Okay. Students, are you still there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you taking down notes?
Yes po.
Yes.
Kasi nag-a-add kasi din hiton akong kopya, nag-a-add akin mga info that are not found in your module. Okay, so aside from induced mutation, another type is spontaneous mutation. Now, when we say spontaneous mutation, this is actually the result of errors in natural biological processes. Like, for example, replication. Another is cell division. Another is transcription. So these are few examples of spontaneous mutation. Natural nga biological processes or biological processes that naturally happen in the cell that cause errors resulting to mutation. Okay? So ining natural processes resulting to errors like replication or error in replication, error in cell division, error in the copying of the message in the DNA, which we call as transcription. All of this may cause what we call as spontaneous mutation. Okay. So, uninduced, kumbaga, kita, aton binuhatan, kita an naghihimo, kita an nag, how will I say that? Kita an naghihimo nga magmutate ang cell. Aton binuhatan, aton actuations, aton the food we take, our exposure to different things may cause our DNA to change. So that type of change or the type of mutation is called as induced mutation. There are different types of mutations, and the two major categories of mutations are germline mutations and somatic mutations. So what is the difference between the two? Germline and somatic, the two major categories of mutations. Now, when we say germline mutations, this is a type of mutation that occur in sperm cells and egg cells. When mutation occurs in either of the two, when mutation occurs in the sperm cell or in the DNA of the egg cell, then we call it as germline mutation. Let's take, for example, in the DNA of the egg cell, nagkamay-ada change ang DNA. So, nagmutate hiya. Nagmutate, nagkamay-ada change. Now, that change will be transmitted to the next generation. If, for example, the change in the DNA happened in the DNA of the sperm, in the DNA of the nucleus of the sperm, then that change will be passed on to the offspring or to the next generation. Kasi sinisaring nga, inherited, na i-inherit ang change. Kay ano? The change occurred or happened in the sex cells or in the reproductive cells. So we call this type of mutation as germline mutation. If mutation occurs in the gametes or reproductive cells, be it sperm cell or egg cell, that mutation is passed on or transmitted to offspring. It is passed on or transmitted to the next generation. In other words, the mutation is transmitted from parent to children. Okay? If it is a plant, the mutation is transmitted from parent to offspring. Okay? So that is what we mean by germline mutation. Okay. So, ano naman sinisir nga somatic mutation? So somatic mutations occur in other cells of the body. So summering nga ni somatic, it simply refers to body cells or cells other than the gametes. Okay? So if mutation occurs in the body cell, let's say for example in the skin cell, in the liver cell, or in other cells of the body aside from egg or sperm, that mutation may have little effect on the organism because they are confined to just one cell and its daughter cells and not passed on to the next generation. Let's take for example, may ada usa nga tawo nagmutate an iya skin cell, may ada nagmutate nga iya skin cell. So kung dida la skin cell nagmutate ang DNA, so napiktado la itunla nga skin cell. Nganit apektado la itunla nga tawo. And that change is not passed on. It is not transmitted to the next generation. Diri niya napapasa. Diri niya mapapasa itong mutation. Okay?
Excuse
Were
me,
you able
ma'am.
to get it? Yes?
Ma'am, may report ako ka-classmate din nakakasulod.
Wait lang ha. Okay, anay. Okay, were you able to get now the difference between germline and somatic mutations? So sumiringan ni germline, mutation is passed on to the next generation. Kay ano, mutation occurs or the change in the DNA happened in the reproductive cell. It happened in the egg cell or the sperm cell. So it masunod nga henerasyon, itong magiging mga anak can copy the changed DNA. Okay? When we say somatic mutation, the change in the DNA happened only in cells that are not reproductive cells. Mutation happened only in body cells. And these mutations are not passed on to the next generation. Kung let's take for example, atong individual, nagkamay ada niya mutation, didahan iya body cell, hiyala iton apektado. He or she will not pass it on to his or her children. So asat ira pagkakaiba. Okay. Okay na? Were you able to get it?
Opo.
What about the others? Duhalan ako sinarin na yes, ma'am. So duhala nakaintindi.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So please take down notes
Ma'am.
la ha kay ma-appear inihiton summative test. Okay. Mutations also differ in the way that the genetic material is changed. Again, mutations also differ in the way that the genetic material is changed. Mutations may change the structure of a chromosome or just change a single nucleotide. Okay. Now, the change in the genetic material or mutation may change the structure of a chromosome. It may change the structure of a chromosome or may change the nucleotide in the DNA. Okay? So we go to a change in the structure of a chromosome. We call it as chromosomal alteration or chromosomal aberration. We also call it as chromosomal aberration. Please check my spelling. Is it double B or double R?
Double R.
R? Aberration. So chromosomal alteration or chromosomal aberration. So meron nga ni chromosomal aberration or chromosomal alteration, this actually refers to a change in the chromosome structure. Change in the chromosome structure. Chromosomal alteration is a change in the chromosome structure. Let's take, for example, normally, nasa rin konta, nasugad, tapos, nag-change sa niya structure. Sinugad ito. Okay, so a change in the chromosome structure is what we call as chromosomal alteration or chromosomal aberration, which is also mutation. Okay? So they occur when a section of a chromosome breaks off and rejoins incorrectly or does not rejoin at all. Okay, so maputol nga ni itong arm or any part of the chromosome, it causes mutation. Okay? Again, when we say chromosomal alteration or chromosomal aberration, it is a change in the chromosome structure due to breaking off of a part of the chromosome. So in chromosomal aberration, the chromosome breaks off. It breaks off and then joins incorrectly to the chromosome itself or joins incorrectly to other chromosome. Okay, possible ways these mutations can occur are found in the illustration below. Okay, so we have it here. Okay. Na-break, pag-break, naputol. So from this to this, a part of the chromosome is deleted. And we call this type of mutation as deletion. Okay, we call this type of chromosomal aberration as deletion. A part of the chromosome is deleted. Naputol hiya, na-delete. Okay, another chromosomal aberration is duplication. Nag-break, tapos inihiya na double. So ini nga part, ini nga segment in the chromosome na double, we call it as duplication. Another is inversion. Naputol, it breaks off, and then rejoins, pagbalik niya, pagdugkot nga ho niya, unfortunately, ang iya pagdugtong na baliktad, na invert. Definitely, it will produce not the same protein. So it will produce different proteins kasi nabaliktad na hiya. Mababaliktad liwat didaan mga nucleotides. Okay? So andin naputol. So ang naputol, diri na hiya makihimo nga proteins. Kaya naputol naman hiya. Ang duplication naman, nagduruble ang segment, okay, naduble ang segment, in other words, maduduble gihap ang mga nucleotides. Meaning, kung nakahimuhiya dilain usala nga valin, usang nga proline, kay na-duplicate man ang segment, most likely, makakahimuhiyahin duha nga valines and duha nga prolines. Okay? So, inversion, the segment of the DNA, of the chromosome rather, breaks off and then rejoins. Kaya pagbalik niya, pagdugtong niya, it was inverted. So dati, ang valin na kan higbaw, ang prolin na ka diha ubos, pagbalik niya, pag-rejoin niya, ang prolin na hinga din na higbaw, ang valin na hinga din na ubos. So another protein will be made. Kasi diri na asya ang sequence ng nucleotide. Okay, so another is insertion. Insertion. Okay, this is chromosome 4 and this is chromosome 20. Chromosome 4 breaks off. Ang iya naman naputol nga parte joined to chromosome 20. So nagkamay ada insertion in chromosome 20. Okay? Again, chromosome 4 breaks off. So, na-delete hiya. Ito naman nga part, unbroken part, joined to chromosome 20. So, ang chromosome 20 nagkamay-ada. Change and structure. Okay. So, another is translocation. Another chromosomal aberration is translocation. Translocate, meaning na transfer. Okay. Chromosome 4, for example, breaks off. And this is chromosome 20. So, chromosome 4, the broken part of the chromosome 4 joined to chromosome 20. Ang chromosome 20 naman liwat, naputol, tapos ang iyan naputol joined with chromosome 4. So na-transfer. There was a transfer of segment of a chromosome, part of the chromosome. So the part of the chromosome was translocated to another chromosome. Okay, so balik. So, we have the following chromosomal aberrations due to deletion, due to duplication, due to inversion, due to insertion, and another chromosomal aberration may be caused by translocation. Okay, nakuha niyo? Were you able to get it, class?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Mom.
Okay, thank you for that. So chromosomal alterations are very serious. Okay, sometimes it is very dangerous to the organism. Kasi we all know that A chromosome contains the DNA. The DNA contains the genes, okay, that are responsible for our traits. We all know that DNA makes proteins. So when a part of the chromosome, or when a chromosome is changed, or when there is an alteration of the chromosome, definitely not one, not two, but many nucleotides in the DNA will be affected. And when this happens, they often result to the death of the organism in which they occur. That's how serious this chromosomal alteration is. Nakakamatay hiya. Okay. Kaya dako nganit nga maputol itong chromosome, tapos itong nga naputol nga chromosome, dapat makakaproduce yahin very, very essential proteins. Tapos diri na iya maproproduce, kay ano na, nakuan hiya, nawara na, na-delete naman hiya, it may cause a great damage to the individual or to the organism. It may result to the death of the organism in which they occur. Okay? So, aside from a change in the chromosome structure, another cause of mutation is gene mutation. So, a change in the gene or a change in the nucleotides of the DNA. Kanina, change in the structure of the chromosome. Yan na naman ito't pag-i-restoryahan, a change in the gene, a change in the nucleotides of the DNA, a change in the nucleotide sequence of a DNA. So one is point mutation, point mutation. Now, when we say point mutation, it is a change in a single nucleotide in DNA. Single nucleotide. It can be, ano ang mga, what nucleotides do you still remember, class? What are the nucleotides in the DNA molecule? You can give me one. From section Santol. Anybody from section Santol? Give me one nucleotide in the DNA. Alexi. Very good. Thank you for that. Adenine. Another.
Thymine.
Another.
Guanine.
Guanine.
Cytosine.
Other.
Cytosine.
Okay, so we have adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. So these are the nucleotides found in our DNA or in the DNA of organisms. Adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine. Now, when we say point mutation, a single nucleotide, or this is a change in a single nucleotide, a change in a single nucleotide. It can be adenine, it can be thymine, it can be guanine, it can be cytosine. Okay. So this type of mutation is usually less serious than a chromosomal alteration. An example of a point mutation is a mutation that changes the codon UUU to the codon UCU. Masin ka naman, ma'am, kay ano nga U? Kay ano pa daw? Kay ano pa daw? Kay ano nga U instead of T?
mRNA.
Very
mRNA.
good. It is because mRNA copies thymine as ano? It copies thymine as very good. Uracil. Okay, so it copies thymine as uracil as yung U. Now, so an example given here is the codon UUU is changed to UCU. Usala nga nucleotide ang nag-change from U to C. Do you think it will produce, it will greatly affect the individual? Yes or no?
No.
Yes or no?
No.
Yes.
No.
Depende, hit, mahihimo nga amino acid.
Yes.
Okay. So UUU codes for what? Amino acid. It starts with letter P. UUU codes for
Phenylalanine.
phenylalanine. What about UCU? UCU. Serine. Okay. So there was a change in the codon U to C, meaning phenylalanine, instead of producing phenylalanine, it will produce serine, which is a different amino acid. So point mutations can be silent, missense, or nonsense mutation. Again, point mutation may result to silent mutation, missense mutation, or nonsense mutation. Okay. Ano't pagkakaiba between these three? Okay, and okay na. So, when we say silent mutation, listen to this, ha? Okay. Bulig initak sa matil. So when we say silent mutation, the mutated codon codes for the same amino acid. Example, originally CAA. Tapos, it changed to CAG. Only one codon was changed. Only one nucleotide was changed from A to G. Okay, CAA codes for glutamine. Pag-change niya an A from A to G, so CAA was changed to CAG. CAG also codes for glutamine. So parehas la. There will be no effect to the individual. Kay ano, nag-change siya, pero siya man lagi hapon. Okay. Karasin, nalagin balyo na nakpiso, pero nasalunan malagya piyahin piso, kaya lang, durodonot na nga piso. So, naipalit lagi hapon niya, so there is no effect. Okay? Now, a mutation that is like that is called as silent type of mutation. So, the mutated codon codes for the same amino acid. There is no effect at all to the individual or to the organism. So another is missense mutation. Mutated codon codes for a different amino acid. Mutated codon codes for a different amino acid. Okay, now let's say for example, the original codon is CAA, which codes for glutamine. Mutated codon is now CCA. So nag-change an adenine to cytosine. So instead of producing glutamine, it was able to produce a different amino acid, which is proline. And the effect is variable. So it varies to the individual. Okay? Kasi it may vary. The effect may vary to the individual or to the organism. Pwede hiya makaraot, pwede liwat hiya makaupay. Okay? It's an organism. Okay, so another is, children, are you still there?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So another type of mutation is nonsense mutation. Alam, may ada ngayon nonsense ano? Dira lang ngayon statement iton sentence it nonsense. May ada mutation which is nonsense. Okay. Now when we say nonsense mutation, the mutated codon is a premature stop codon. Alam, medyo delikado to. Mutated codon is a premature stop codon. Example given here is CAA, glutamine. CAA, which codes for glutamine. Now, C, cytosine, was changed to uracil. So nahimo na hiya from CAA to UAA, which does not code for any amino acid. Diba? When mRNA comes across a stop codon, diba, nakuan na hiya, na-release, dire na hiya magkukopya, kay stop naman, diba? Do you still remember transcription?
Yes.
Class?
Yes.
Diba pag stop na, ma-stop na niya pag-copy?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
what if? So I'll give you an example. What if originally the sequence of DNA is, the sequence of nucleotide in a DNA is A, U, C, G, G, U, C, A, and 100 more amino acid. 100 more, the amino acid. 100 more nucleotides that follows. Nucleotides. Okay. May ada pa 100 more nucleotides after CAA. Kaya lang nagkamay ada problema. C was changed to U. Nag-mutate yan, nag-change ini dinhi nga dapit nga codon. C was changed to U. So iton mahinanabo, transcription will stop. Copying of the message will stop. Iton ila makokopya will be AUCGGU. Ma-stop na hiya. Pag stop niya, diri na makokopya ang 100 nucleotides that follow after CAA. Paano kung ini nga 100 nucleotides? Liwatong ko lang. Paano kung ini nga 100 nucleotides code for very, very important protein. Very, very important amino acids. Dako nga effect to the organism if that will happen. As ang effect niya is usually serious when that type of mutation is nonsense. Kaya imbis nga ini makukopya pa kumpa ini nga 100 nucleotides that follow after CAA, takay nag-change man hiya into a stop codon, meaning these 100 nucleotides will not anymore be copied. Okay? So, we go back. So, point mutations can either be silent if the mutated codon codes for the same amino acid, missense if the mutated codon codes for a different amino acid, and nonsense if the mutated codon is a premature stop codon. Okay. Now, so aside from point mutation, another type of gene mutation is frame shift mutation. Frame shift mutation. Okay, so when we say frame shift mutation, it is a deletion or insertion of one or more nucleotides that changes the reading frame of the base sequence. Na iiba ang pagbasa kay nagkamay-ada deletion of a nucleotide or insertion of a nucleotide. Okay? Deletions remove nucleotides and insertions add nucleotides. Okay, let's take for example. Para makita niyo pagkakaiba between a point mutation and frame shift mutation. Let's take for example AUG, AAU, ACG, GCU, which starts with code 4. AUG codes for ano pa daw? Methionine. Very good. Methionine. AUG is since this is a start codon, asya nga in a DNA sequence, permit hiya must start in AUG. Okay. So AAU codes for asparagine, ACG codes for threonine, GCU codes for alanine. Anay ha? Adi pa nasulod. Wait lang. Adi pa tisulod. Okay. So, unfortunately, nagkamay-ada insertion. Nagkamay-ada insertion here. Nagkamay-ada insertion here dito. Okay, here nagkamay-ada insertion. Okay. Now, RNA copies the DNA by codon. So iton mahinanabo, di ba nagkamay-ada insertion in the DNA. Nagkamay-ada insertion in the DNA. Okay, so AUG, it is not the RNA that will copy it is the RNA that copies the DNA. So this is how the RNA will copy the DNA. AUG, nagkamay-ada insertion nga adenine. So A, ma-move hiya nga di. So UAC, C, G, and U. Kuha. Okay. If originally the DNA, the nucleotide sequence in the DNA is methionine, asparagine, threonine, and alanine, pagkamay-ada insertion, nag-insert yan usala ng nucleotide, it was able to change the reading frame of the DNA sequence. And mahinanabo, so methionine, AAA will now code for lysine instead of asparagine. UAC will code for tyrosine instead of threonine. And GCU will code for, mahimunahiya nga GGC, which codes for glycine instead of alanine. So everything was changed except AUG. Kaya di pa man hiya apektado. Nakuha niya. It was able to change So it will now produce, the cell will now produce different proteins or different amino acids. Okay. So if this is put into words instead of codons, this is, if we will put it into words, let's take, for example, the statement goes like this: the bad dog was his pet. Di ba tagtulo? So, the bad dog was his pet. Now, nagkamay-ada. Okay. Nagkamay-ada insertion. Anay. So let's say, for example, the statement goes like this: the bad dog was his pet. Nagkamay-ada insertion in A, so somewhere here. Somewhere here. A was inserted before B. If that happens, then the reading frame will then be changed. So maano na ang pagbasa. The abadugwashis-peti. Is there still a thought for this statement? Kung inihiya, may ada thought, kung baga may ada thought ang statement, the bad dog was his pet, parehas hadi kunta may ada makakahimuhiyahin protein or good protein. So here, moray na niya thought because of an additional nucleotide. Okay? So this is what we mean by frame shift mutation. Usala nga nag-insert, usala nga gin-add nga nucleotide, changed everything. Okay? In like manner, if one of the nucleotides in the sequence is removed or deleted, it will also affect the reading frame of the base sequence. Parehas kunta didi. Parehas kunta din he. Naiwas on B, for example, naiwas on B. Do you think it will still, do you think the change statement will still have a thought? May intindihan pa ba? Yes or no?
No.
May intindihan pa ba?
No.
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 There is any deletion or insertion of a nucleotide in the base sequence, it will definitely affect the reading frame of the base sequence of the DNA molecule. So from the right proteins that will be made, the cell will then produce the wrong proteins that might affect the organism, that might affect the individual. So frame shift mutation is more serious than point mutation. Okay. Okay, so we're done with types of mutation. Okay. So induced mutation, we're done with this. Spontaneous mutation, 3 causes of spontaneous mutation. We have the chemical instability of purine and pyrimidine bases. So meron nga kita spontaneous mutation, ano pa dato? Spontaneous meaning?
Naturally happens.
Okay, it naturally happens. An error or errors that naturally happen in the DNA or inside the cell. So one is 3 causes of spontaneous mutation. It can either be the chemical instability of purine and pyrimidine bases. Purine and pyrimidine bases are not 100% stable. Another is error during DNA replication. And another is error or copying the error during DNA replication. Diba? Nagkamay ada error in DNA replication. Definitely, during transcription, makokopya at niya an error in the DNA during replication. So these are the common causes of spontaneous mutation. So there are 5 common types of spontaneous mutations, which actually we will not discuss anymore kay parang higher, ano na siya, parang pag-college na lang niyo. Di pa ka man makakaintindi good yan. Okay, pag-college na lang niyo. Okay, so we go to the last objective of the module to classify and explain the effects of mutations as to beneficial or harmful. Classify and explain the effects of mutation. If these mutations are beneficial or harmful. We often associate mutation as beneficial or harmful, class. How do you associate mutation?
Harmful.
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 Yes, we often associate mutation as harmful. Nag-mutate hiya, mamamatay na. Nag-mutate nakta, no, mamamatay. Nag-mutate nga rin akta, no, malilipay akiton kay variegated na nakta, no, wow, mamahal hiya. Anyway, so mas magmamaupay tanong kay nag-iban iya color from green to yellow or from green to white or from green to red. Nag-mutate iya. Meaning, not all mutations are harmful. Okay. Okay, we go to neutral mutation. Now, when we say neutral mutation, it is neither negative or it has neither negative nor positive effect on the organism in which they occur. So majority of mutations in the organism or in the individual are neutral mutations. So they are neither negative nor positive. Okay? Examples include silent point mutation. So nag-change siya pero asya lagi hapon nga protein and nahimo asya lagi hapon nga amino acid. Or nag-change siya pero God is good and He loves us. Why? God makes enzymes that will repair the error. And we call this as repair mechanisms. Diba? When we were discussing replication, so nagkakami ada nga ni error, the DNA polymerase 1 will take its role. It will change the wrong nucleotide. Tapos may ada pa usang repair mechanism, the DNA polymerase 2. It also repairs the wrong nucleotides. Okay. So, nag-change, pero it is repaired at once by enzymes. Okay. If a cell's DNA is permanently damaged and cannot be repaired, the cell is likely to be prevented from dividing. Meaning, diri nahiya na padayon ngadto hit mitosis. Diri na padayon ngadto mitosis. Kay ano, mag-divide nga ni iton hiya, magdadamo iton error. Ay mo nga cancer. Okay? So, usually, dida pala hiton replication, dida pala hiton interface, interface, dida pala hiton interface. Kakamay ada na nga ni error, the cell do not proceed to mitosis. So, it is prevented from dividing. God is good. Thank you for that. Okay, so next effect of mutation is another effect of mutation is beneficial mutation. So as what I have said, not all mutations are harmful. Some mutations have a positive effect on the organism in which they occur. Like the example that I have just given, mag-mutate nga ni itakon plants, meaning instead of giving me green color of leaves, it might give me another color of leaf, which is more beautiful than green. Or it will give me another color of flower that is more beautiful than the original color. But in most organisms, the beneficial effect of mutation is when the organisms adapt to the changes in their environment. Okay? This is a natural process. If organism is exposed to a drastic change in the environment, cells will try to adapt to the current environment for the organism to survive. Okay? Kaya di nga nit makasurvive, di nga nit maka-adapt, definitely di rin makakasurvive. Sigmong tala, kakuan masan ko ta, kakuan naman nga akon pet, nga manan akon pet kan una, nakaon man latiya bis ano, asya nga, kuan, asya nga, nag-iya an iya life, nagkuan hiya, nag 30 years, nga adin amon pet, di riya maupay kumaon, di riya nakaka-adapt, itong iya current nga environment, asyang masayo niya masakit. Unfortunately, namamatay itong hiya nga pet because di rin nakaka-adapt to the changes in their environment, in its environment. Okay, so for the organism to survive, the cell must adapt. The DNA rather must change to adapt the change in the environment. So pag-mutate niya, tapos maka-adapt an organism, mutation then becomes a benefit to that organism. Mutation becomes beneficial. So beneficial mutations are essential for evolution to occur. They increase an organism's chances of surviving or reproducing. So they are likely to become more common over time. Okay. Whereas today, one example given here is bacteria that mutate to allow them to survive in the presence of antibiotic drugs. Okay, usually not take an antibiotic if we get sick. Usually we take antibiotic drugs to kill the bacteria that cause us to be sick. There are instances wherein these bacteria mutate and they become immune to that antibiotic drug. Imbis nga mamamatay, nagpapadayon hirap pag-survive, nagpapadayon hirap pagdamo. And they become antibiotic resistant. Okay? Asya nga, ma-change ka nga hawin antibiotic drug that might kill that strain of bacteria. Okay, so nag-mutate hiya, naka-resist hiya, han medisina, pag-mutate niya, it was able to give benefit to that bacteria. It was able to mutation was able to, the bacteria was able to adapt to that antibiotic. Okay, so another example is given here. A mutation is found in people in a small town in Italy. The mutation protects them from developing atherosclerosis, nag-heart attack, which is the dangerous buildup of fatty materials in blood vessels. So nag-mutate here, small town in Italy. The individual in which the mutation first appeared has even been identified. Okay. So bisan pa pag kinaon ni damo nga taba, dere ra maapektaran kay nag-mutate and era cells. Okay. So and another effective mutation is the opposite of beneficial. So another is harmful mutation. So asya na ini ang nakakasakit, and finally nakakamatay. Okay, imagine making a random change in a complicated machine. Okay, so harmful mutation cause genetic disorders or even cancer. It may cause genetic disorders. Okay, nakasakit hiya, alam, mayroon niya disorder, alam, nag-mutate niya gene. Kay masing kung hala kay nga sugad hiya, kaya nga nasugad. Definitely, the culprit is a change in the DNA, nag-mutate. Okay? Cancer is mutation. Okay? Cancer is a disease in which cells grow out of control and form abnormal masses of cells. It is generally caused by mutations in genes that regulate the cell cycle. Because of the mutations, cells with damaged DNA are allowed to divide without limits. Cancer genes can be inherited if mutation happened in either sperm or egg cells. Okay. What happened? What happened? Please turn off. Okay na? Maringa siya kanina. Anyway, so that ends our lecture for today. Okay, so this is one rare mutation which is deadly. Normally, this is the shape of a normal blood cell. Because of one nucleotide that changed, instead of having this shape of cell, which is spherical, it becomes crescent. So this is a sickled red blood cell. We call this type of disorder as sickle cell anemia, which is deadly. Okay. An individual with a sickle cell anemia do not have a long lifespan. Bata pa, namamatay na ito niya. Dahil nga a few days after birth, namamatay na itong bata. Kay red blood cell carries oxygen to supply all body parts. Kay kung guti ila, kung sugad la hini nga klase, kung sugad la hini kaguti nga red blood cell, guti ila luwat nga oxygen, iton madadara niya. So, guti ila luwat nga oxygen, iti masusupply to all body parts. So, iton mahinanabo, the individual will run out of oxygen and definitely, or later on, the individual dies. Okay, so that ends the lecture. I hope you learned something today. Okay. So in today's discussion, we were able to define mutation, the causes of mutation. So what are the causes of mutation again? We have causes of mutation. Kaya ano nga nag-mutate? Kaya ano nga nag-change ng DNA? Can be
DNA
caused by...
DNA fails to copy after
DNA fails to copy.
Okay, very good.
External influences can create
We have
mutations.
induced and spontaneous. So induced and spontaneous mutation. So what about the effects of mutation? Can be beneficial,
Neutral.
harmful,
Neutral or
harmful.
Neutral.
Okay, so it is already 4 p.m. When do you want to have the summative test? Yan na? Do you want to take it now?
No.
Sige. Tomorrow na lang, 8 o'clock. Okay la? 8 o'clock?
Okay,
8
ma'am.
o'clock.
Opo.
Okay
Okay,
po,
ma'am. Good.
Pag mata naman ka mong temprano,
Sige po,
ha?
ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes po, ma'am. Okay po.
Sige, pag mata ka mong
Thank you
temprano,
po.
8 o'clock ha?
Okay, ma'am.
Google
Okay,
Classroom.
ma'am.
Yes po.
Okay,
Opo, ma'am.
sige. We'll
Thank you po,
have
ma'am.
the
Thank you po,
summative
ma'am.
test via Google Classroom
Thank you po,
at
ma'am.
8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
So,
Okay, ma'am.
thank you.
Okay,
Thank
ma'am.
you po, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Ay, ma'am.
Ilanay ka mo pagkuan ha? Ilanay pag... Anay kay ma-attendance anay kita. Okay, wait la. Okay, please turn on the camera. Please turn on the camera. Next page. Please turn on the camera. Okay, so I hope you learned something today. Stay safe and God bless. Ay, kamo pag kinalakat ha, kaya ako nga ni nahadok ak paggawas, nahadok ak paglakat kapag ginawas. Stay safe. May I remind you once again of the required outputs that were not yet submitted just get a picture of the outputs and send it privately. Send it to my account. Ano kay next week, matikang na kami paghimon grade. So, asya nga, kinanglan ta mag-summative test yan nga week. This will be our last summative test for the second quarter. Again, diri pa kumpleto han required outputs. Please submit it now. Okay? Bye.
Bye, Mom.
Bye, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Hi, ma'am.
Bye.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye.
Ma'am.
Thank you po for the lesson.
You're welcome.
Bye, ma'am.
Jack, idire.
Bye po.
Bye. Bye.